Good morning, everyone. We would like to wait a few more minutes to allow all registered participants to join us. Thank you for your patience. Okay, let's start. We have 26 participants this morning. So, good morning, everyone. We are glad to welcome you this morning to this webinar regarding the IPA4SME service implementation for beneficiaries of the cutoffs 5, 6, and 7. My name is Rassami Couturier and I am project manager at GoPacom, a communications agency based in Brussels that is partner in the IPA4SME consortium. Today, our webinar presenter will be Mr. Marco Graziado from CARSA, the IPA4SME consortium leader. Throughout the webinar, you can write your questions in the question box. These will be addressed at the end of the presentation, so please feel free to use this question box. Regarding specific questions, these will be followed up individually by email by the IPA4SME Consortium Center. Enjoy the webinar, and Marco, You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Rasami, for this nice presentation, and hello to everybody, and welcome on board of IPA4SME program, especially to all the beneficiaries selected during the last cutoff call. As Rasami said, I am Marco Zaddio, innovation consultant from CARSA, who is the coordination leader of this project, and I'm here today to explain you how to proceed in order to benefit the most from the project and for all the support services we offered in a easy and efficient way. So for today's presentation, I will use the guide for beneficiary that we designed specifically for the beneficiary of the cutoff call 7. And then when finish this presentation, I will go to summarize all the most important information through a presentation where I collected the most important frequently asked questions received during the last year. And then, as Rasami explained you, I will take care of all the questions that you are writing on the question box. Before to start with the presentation, I would like to emphasize that the idea of this program is that the European Commission strongly believes that the protection of the IP, also named intellectual properties, is crucial for promoting innovation and for improving your competitiveness in Europe. So to facilitate and promote the use of intellectual properties, basically we offer within this project financial and expert support in order to valorize and protect your intellectual properties. Can receive support services all the SME which have received the Seal of Excellence from the Horizon 2020 SME Issuement Program. So, as I said, I will use the presentation, the guide for beneficiary designed for cutoff call 7, but generally speaking, the rules are equal to all the beneficiaries. So, before to start with the presentation of the service, as you can read, please keep in mind that for all the beneficiaries who have been awarded to receive more than one service, beneficiary is not forced to follow any particular order in completing the service. Namely that, for example, if you are a company that received both service 2 and service 3, you can complete service 3 even if you did not complete service 2 yet. So it's important to understand that as a beneficiary, you can make use of all your services awarded in parallel or complete one after the other. This is, let's say, really important, especially for the beneficiaries who have been awarded also with service 1, because a lot of time happened in the past that beneficiaries, they were thinking that they could not access or start to benefit from service 2, service 3 without completing service 1. Again, as I said before, you are free to complete the services in parallel or one after one. However, my strong recommendation, especially for the beneficiary of the EP Pre-diagnostic Service, also renamed Service 1, is to complete the service, because one of the scope, or let's say the goal of this service is that the expert is going to provide you recommendation also related to the benefit that you can receive in case you decide to register your patent through the European Patent Office. So please keep in mind that all the support services will be managed through the use of IPA4SME electronic submission system, also renamed simply as EMS. So once a beneficiary has been awarded with at least one of IPA4SME support service, a private space will be enabled in EMS. In this space, you will find all the information related to the support services that you have been awarded, but this is also the space that you must use in order to activate service 2 and service 3, which are our co-financing services. So basically on EMS, by clicking on My Project section under the malaria menu, you will find a place called Go to Support Documentation, where you have to click in order to access to a new space where you can find two specific sections. The first one is called Support Documentation, that basically is a place specifically designed for you as a beneficiary to upload only the required document that we need to receive from you in order to activate and in case issue the reimbursement. So each service is awarded will have its part in this section. So as a beneficiary, what you have to do is simply upload the documentation on this space. Then there is a second space called the reimbursement, that is a place designed for you to provide the necessary financial information that we must collect in order to issue the grant. In this space, what you have basically to upload is your financial identification, that is your bank details, that again we must collect in order to make the transfer. And then once you receive the possible payment from the coordination center, what you have to do as the last stage of the process is to upload on EMS the acknowledge of receipt, which basically provide us information that you received the grant without any specific problem. In the guide, as you can see, you will find a different screenshot example of not only the EMS channel, but also about all the information, the important information about this program. So another important thing is that please keep in mind that during the entire process, we kindly ask you as a beneficiary to complete a series of survey as a part of your award. As you can see in the following table, table 1, there are information relating to all the surveys that you have to complete with the time frame. As you can see, beneficiary, let's say, have to answer surveys before and after completion of their support service. The most important one, in my point of view, especially as beneficiary, especially as regard to the new beneficiary, is the completion of IPA4SME self-assessment. That is a survey that must be complete prior to any service activation. So, however, please keep in mind that in case you are a beneficiary that has been awarded with more than one service, you must complete the IPA4SME self-assessment only one time. You are not forced to complete the survey as many times as the service is received. In the guide, as you can see, you will see also a brief description of the survey and their scope. But again, please keep in mind that at least the IPA4SME self-assessment must be completed. Otherwise, any of the services awarded, they cannot start. So we can move now in the second part of the guide, in which I'm going to explain you the different services, their scope, their role, and also how to activate and benefit from them. So I will start with the explanation of Service 1, also called IPAAgnostic Service, but in some cases also renamed as IP scanning. This is a service that we offer to you, and basically we provide a comprehensive IP pre-diagnostic service in order to boost your capabilities and competencies, always in terms of intellectual properties and business strategy related to intellectual property. So for us, This one is a great opportunity from which you can benefit from in order to count on a qualified expert in the field of intellectual property with aim at, let's say, identify both the advantage and all the potential opportunities associated to your intellectual property that you can use to develop your SME businesses. So thanks to this service, beneficiary will have the opportunity to identify both limitation but also the area of development in order to strengthen your competencies in Europe, again, always in the field of intellectual property. So, as you can see in this slide, the workflow of Service 1 consists of 5 main steps. The first one, as I said before, and also as we will see later on in the other 2 services, is the first step will be always the completion of IPA4SME self-assessment, without which, again, the service cannot begin. Once you complete the IPA4SME self-assessment, the second step is called designation of the EP pre-diagnostic expert. So basically, once you complete the IPA4SME self-assessment, the coordination center is going to check it and collect it. And once we collect it, we will facilitate the initial contact between you as a beneficiary and the possible expert. The designation of the expert is a process that differs slightly depending on the beneficiary country. So please keep in mind that for all those SME located in countries such as Austria, Denmark, France, Netherlands, and Spain, the expert will be assigned to you directly by the national IP office. So in this case, for all the SME located in Austria, Denmark, France, Netherlands, and Spain, it will be directly the national IP office to contact you and to assign to you an expert. Instead, for all the SME located in countries like Greece, Germany, Latvia, Ireland, Italy, and Sweden, is the coordination center in charge of providing you or a list of experts that from which you can choose. This is, for example, the case of Germany SME, but it can also happen that we offer you directly a possible expert. But again, in this case, for this country, we are is the coordination center in charge of providing you the name of the expert from which you can collaborate on. All these countries, which are Greece, Italy, Ireland, Latvia, Sweden, but also Germany, already received the information as regard to the expert that you can, of which they can work on. As regard the SME located in Austria, Denmark, France, Netherlands, and Spain, again, is the national IP office in charge of providing you as an expert. But in case you did not yet receive any email from the national IP office, please contact us, because we can work as a reference from you in order to contact the national IP office and highlight them the problem that you are issuing. So once the expert has been assigned or chosen, the beneficiary can start to schedule a possible meeting for the implementation of the service. In this respect, I would like to inform you that since the outbreak of the virus, in some cases, both expert or beneficiary are feel more comfortable to schedule a video call meeting rather than schedule a face-to-face meeting. Nowadays, this situation already happened several times during the previous cutoff call, and what I would like to say to you is that the majority of the beneficiaries that decide to schedule a video call meeting rather than a face-to-face meeting, or let's say a personal meeting, they were really satisfied of the services received. So once you schedule a possible meeting with the expert, we can consider the IP Pre-diagnostic Service start. As you can see, this service is basically consists of 3 main sub-steps. There is a first initial analysis of your environment. So expert, thanks to desk research, but also thanks to the information collected from your IPA4SME self-assessment, it will start to analyze your environment in order to have an initial understanding of your IP situation. Then there is the second sub-step, that is the visit and interview, where the expert will visit you as a beneficiary, conduct an in-depth interview which should last between 2 and 4 hours. And again, as I said before, the interview can be conducted in person or via video teleconferences. And then there is the final result, where basically the expert will deliver you the result of the complete analysis in a confidential report, which means it is only for you, and explain all the suggestions either in person or via video teleconference. What you are going to basically collect from these reports are information regarding a clear diagnostic of your businesses in terms of intellectual property, and also a clear overview of opportunity and limitation to foster and booster intellectual property advantage and exploit the benefits. Once you receive the report, the last step is the confirmation of the service, where basically will be asked to you to complete a satisfaction survey, which will include questions regarding the overall satisfaction process with the IP Pre-diagnostic Service. As regard to the service one, there are other important information is that the IP Pre-diagnostic Service should be completed within 4 months of the date of the communication of the support service award. That for beneficiary of cutoff 7 was the last 25 November 2020. Then it is important to remember that the service one is totally free of charge, which means that any cost will be supported exclusively by the coordination center. And this is, for example, one of the reasons why you cannot complete the IP Pre-diagnostic Service. You can complete the IP Pre-diagnostic Service only with one of the expert we proposed to you. Then it is also important to consider that as regard to the meetings, again, please remember that the meeting can take between 2 and 4 hours. So before scheduling a meeting with the expert, please remember and take this information into consideration, because it's really important that the expert has her or his time to complete and conduct an in-depth interview. As regard to service one, I think I said all the most important information. We can now move it on service 2. Service 2 is one of the 2 co-financing services that we offer within IPA4SME self-assessment. Service 2 is also renamed partial reimbursement of European Patent Office fee, but in some case we also call it financial contribution for the cost of EPO fee. So this service is focused on providing economic support to cover a percentage of SME patent application fees before the European Patent Office. So this means that our support exclusively covers European patent registration process, which for the purpose of IPA4SME is defined as filing an application for a patent before the EPO, covering at least more than 2 European member states. Within this process, we can consider eligible also PCT patent, also renamed international patent, but this patent, the registration should be done always through the EPO. So again, and sorry to be repetitive, please keep in mind that we only covered within Service 2 and Service 3 only European patent process. That could be a patent registered through the EPO, but we can consider eligible also a PCT patent or patent international patent being done through the EPO. So through this service, you can receive the 75% of the EPO fee cost up to a maximum of euro 2,500 per patent application. Please keep in mind that I'm talking about patent application and not talking about SME. Okay, so again, within this service, we can cover the 75% of the EPO fee cost up to a maximum of euro 2,500 per patent application. Each candidate SME can request the co-financing of a maximum of 5 patents application. So from this service, you can receive a maximum of 12,500 euro because it's 2,500 euro per each patent application. So as you can see, also in this case, the workflow of Service 1 consists of 5 main steps. First one is, again, the completion of IPA4SME self-assessment. Then there is step 2 that I personally consider the most important step because is the activation of the service. So what you have to understand as beneficiary is that being awarded with Service 2 and Service 3 does not mean that the service is activated. To activate the service as a beneficiary, you must provide us within 4 months of the date of the communication of award a valid documentation. And you have to provide us valid documentation again through the use of EMS portal. Valid documentation for us consists of an invoice together with its corresponding proof of payment, which must meet specific requirements that we will discuss soon. But again, being awarded with one of the 2 co-financing services does not mean that the service is activated. Again, to activate the service, you must provide us valid documentation, and you have to do it before within 4 months from the date of the communication of the awards. So as you can see in figure 3, there is a specific time frame you have to respect. So as beneficiary of cutoff call 7, you received a communication of the award the last 25 November 2020. We consider this date as the date also renamed communication of award. From this day, you will have 4 months to activate your service, which means that you will have until the 25 March 2021 to activate the Service 2. Once the service is activated, you will receive the first partial reimbursement, but since the service is activated, you will have until the 31 December 2021 to request to provide us documentation for a second payment request. Just to use an example, let's say that I am the Graziadio company who has been awarded during cutoff call 7 with service 1. As company, I received an email from the coordination center 25 November 2020. So I will have until the 25 March 2021 to provide to the coordination center of IPA4SME project an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. In case the coordination center revise my documentation and they validate it, I will receive a first payment reimbursement, but also since I validate the documentation, I can consider my service to activate, which means that until the 31 December 2021, I will have the opportunity to provide always on EMS documentation to receive a second payment reimbursement. However, please keep in mind that this documentation for the second payment request must be always associated to the same patent application for which I received the first payment. So, in case as a company I will not be able to provide documentation in time, as a company I will be automatically disqualified from the cutoff. Disqualify does not mean that I will not be able to submit a new application in the future cutoff call. So please keep in mind that if you are disqualified, you will not be penalized in any way. You will just lose the opportunity to receive reimbursement during the current cutoff. However, I would like also to say that in case you are a beneficiary that has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3 during the same cutoff call, only for you there is this benefit called Service Activation Extension, which means that as a beneficiary that has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3, we basically give you additional 4 months to activate the Service 2 or 3 when they activate the corresponding Service 3 support from the same cutoff call. In other words, if I am, for example, the Graziadio company benefiting with both Service 2 and Service 3, in case I will be able, for example, to activate the Service 2 in time, together with receive financial first payment request, and together with activate my Service 2, the coordination center will also offer me additionally 4 months to activate the Service 3, which is the service that for which I did not collect yet documentation for activating it. But again, Service Activation Extension is only valid for the beneficiary that has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3 within the same cutoff call. How activate the service? First of all, as you can see in the guide, please keep in mind that it has been established that each granted Service 2, but as we will see later on, also each granted Service 3 will be for a unique European patent application process. In other words, what I would like to say you is that when we selected an application submitted to one of our specific call, this is just for one single patent, European patent or patent. So if a company has several patent applications in the pipeline, if you want to receive support service from for all these patent applications, is an obligation for you to submit several IPA4SME applications as the number of the patent for which you want to receive a support service. You can submit several applications during the same cutoff call date or in future ones. So again, I like to use example to explain you everything better. I'm always the Graduate company. I have 3 patents for which I really hope to receive support service within IPA4SME program. If I want to receive support service from them, since I have 3 patents in the pipeline, what I have to do is to apply to submit 3 different IPA4SME applications, and I can do it during the same cutoff call or in separate cutoff call. So, for example, I can apply submit application for 3 different patents during the same cutoff call, but I can also submit once during cutoff call 7 and the other 2 in cutoff call 8 or in cutoff call 9. But again, please keep in mind that one application means that you can receive reimbursement only for one European patent. So the steps involved in activating and receiving the reimbursement for service 2 are the following. There is first the competition of IPA4SME self-assessment. Then there is the activation of the service. As regard to the activation of the service, there are 2 possible situations regarding the EPO patent registration. So the first is that when you decide when the European patent registration is made by an IP patent attorney on behalf of the beneficiary company, which means that for register your patent application, you need the benefit from an intellectual property patent attorney. In this case, if you decide to move through the benefit of from a patent attorney, please keep in mind that to activate the service, we must collect from you an IP patent attorney invoice. As regard to this invoice, beneficiary can be only reimbursed once they have one or more valid invoice from the IP patent attorney. But to be considered valid this invoice, the invoice must be first of all dated after the date of the communication of IPA4SME support, which means that are eligible only invoices dated after the 25 November 2020. Then, to qualify the invoice, the invoice must include the following information. The invoice must include information as regard to the name of the patent attorney who is providing you the legal advices or the legal service. Then the invoice must contain information about the patent application process, namely the title of the invention or, when possible, the IP being protected. But also the invoice must contain information about the EPO debit order number covered during the registration of your patents. Please keep in mind that within IPA4SME project are considered eligible of reimbursement only the EPO service codes included in Table 2. This is the reason why to validate your invoice, information about the EPO debit order number must be included in the invoice. Otherwise, we cannot proceed with the reimbursement. So again, in case you decide to register your patent application through the support provided to you from an IP patent attorney, to validate the service 2, we must collect from you an IP patent attorney invoice, which must be dated after the date of the communication of IPA4SME support, but also include information as regard to the name of the patent attorney, the patent application process, and also information about the IPO debit order number. As regard to the IPO debit order number, the reason why we consider eligible to reimbursement only the following six IPO service code is that, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, the idea of this program is to promote and to promote the registration of the patent process. And as you can see in this table, almost out of 5 IPO service codes are IPO service codes that usually are covered once a beneficiary or a SME decided to register his patent application for the first time. Please remember that to facilitate the reimbursement process, we kindly ask you to include the information in English, but you are not forced to provide us invoice, translated invoice. We can accept without problems invoice issued within your national language, but when it's possible, will be really grateful from us if you can include in the invoice the following model statement in English, where the most important information about your invoice are collected. But again, it's not a problem for us. Is allowed to you to provide us invoice in your national national language. Then there is a second possible option for the activation of service 2, that is when the IPO registration has been made directly by you as beneficiary company, namely when you decide to register your patent application by yourself. In this case, to activate the service, what we must collect from you is not an IP patent attorney, but a valid IPO debit order submission confirmation. So beneficiary can only be reimbursed once they have the PDF document of the debit order submission confirmation issued from the IPO online filing software, logged by the beneficiary. Also in this case, the valid debit order number must be issued after the date of the communication of IPA4SME support, but also please keep in mind, this is really important that you know, that you must be aware to save or print the confirmation immediately after submitting the online debit order in the IPO online filing, as you will not be able to do this in a later stage. So once you submit the online debit order IPO, please keep in mind that you must save or print the confirmation immediately. Otherwise, you will not be able to do this in a later stage. So, as regard to the IPO debit order submission confirmation, the only information that this document must contain to validate it is the patent application process and the IPO debit order number. Again, also in this case, we must consider eligible it if the date included in the IPO debit order number is after the communication of award. So, together with the IP patent attorney or the IPO debit order submission confirmation, we must collect from you also the corresponding proof of payment. So, beneficiary must provide proof that the IP patent attorney invoice or the IPO debit order submission confirmation has been paid before partial reimbursement can occur. As regard to the proof of payment, we can consider eligible only bank transfer receipt, which clearly indicate the name of the beneficiary. In the option A, the IP patent attorney, and information as regard to the invoice on the IPO debit order submission. Only if the proof of payment contains this information, we can accept your proof of payment. Also, in this case, is mandatory that the date of the payment must be after the date of the communication of award. So once we collect this documentation, again, as you can see, to request partial reimbursement, there are two options. As a beneficiary, you must simply need to upload one or more valid invoice and corresponding proof of payment to EMS in case you decide to move to the registration through an IP patent attorney. But you can also upload one or more valid IPO debit order submission confirmation together with the proof of payment in case to move you decide to move towards option B. I strongly recommend you that to upload all the documentation that you think could be important that we revise it in order to validate the document, and my recommendation is to upload all this documentation in a single PDF or zip file because it's better for us to revise them. Other important information is that service due reimbursement are limited to 2 requests. This means that, as I said you before, in case you provide us valid documentation, we activate the service, which means that you will have a second opportunity to provide us documentation for a second payment request, always associated to the same patent application for which you received the first payment. And again, you will have a time for this second request until the end of the program, which is the 31 December 2021. However, please keep in mind that again, for each single patent application, we can cover up to a maximum of euro 2,500. So in case you achieve this max reimbursement payment during the first tranche, if you provide us documentation for a second payment request, we will not be considered that since you already reached the maximum reimbursable. But and this is all. Then, as last step, there is the confirmation of reimbursement. So once you receive the reimbursement, we kindly ask you to complete and to fill in, sign it, and upload on EMS acknowledge of receipt, which basically informs us that and confirms us that you receive the payment. This model will be made available to you automatically each time as a beneficiary you make a reimbursement request. I think I can move now to step 3. I can ask you to wait 2 seconds, just the time to drink a little bit of water. Okay, thank you very much for waiting. So let's move to service 3. I hope for now everything was clear. Again, in case of doubts, you can write questions that I will take care later on. But some of important information will be repeated now during the presentation of service 3, and also again at the end of this guide I will use a presentation that I prepared for you in order to summarize all the important information that you have to consider when decided to apply and when decided to information on how to benefit from the service. Together with the service 2, we offered a second co-financing service This one is named Service 3, but also partial reimbursement of IP patent attorney fee. So within this service, we basically offer to you financial support to cover the cost associated to hire an IP patent attorney in charge of providing you legal advice for the purpose of either preparing the filing of a European patent, but we also cover cost in case you decide to discontinue the preparation, to discontinue your initial idea of patent application. For all the benefits of Service 3, please keep in mind, this is really important that you understand this, that within Service 3, we cover the cost in both cases. We cover cost of IP patent attorney in both cases. If you decide to complete the entire process of patent registration, but we cover the cost even if you decide for a specific reason to discontinue your idea of patent application registration. So within this service, again, we consider we can cover exclusively European patent application process, which are patent registered through the EPO. So we can consider eligible also PCT patent application for which the registration is done through the EPO. And the financial support we offer you is aiming to cover the 50% of the cost incurred up to a maximum of euro 2,000 per patent application. And for this service, there aren't limitations, which means that you can request reimbursement for the IP patent attorney infinitive time. So in case you have different patent application process in the pipeline, submitting several application as many times as the number of the patent for which you want to receive financial support, please keep in mind that within Service 3, you can request this support infinitive time. But again, we cover the 50% of the cost up to a maximum of euro 2,000 per patent application. So all the process similar to Service 2. I will be glad to explain you again. So Service 3 is also in this case consists of 5 main steps. First of all, the completion of service IPA4SME self-assessment. Then there is the activation of the service that is done through providing us a valid IP patent attorney invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. Then there is the effective request of the partial reimbursement, and in case we validate it, you will receive the partial reimbursement, and the last step, it will be easy just to confirm us throughout a knowledge of receipt that you receive the reimbursement. So also in this case, the time frame is the same of the one described before. Also for Service 3, you will have 4 months to activate the service, which means provide us a valid IP patent attorney together with the corresponding proof of payment. In case you activate the service, you will receive a first payment request, but then you will have the time until the 31 December 2021 to provide us documentation for a second payment request. Again, always associated to the same patent application for which you received the first payment. So, for example, always I am the Graduadio company. Let's say that I have a patent called Marco and a second patent called Rassami. Since I applied only one time, since the coordination center has selected me as a beneficiary, I can decide to move through financial support for covering the cost of patent Marco or to cover the cost of patent Rassami. In case I decide to cover the cost of patent Rassami, let's say that I must provide to the coordination center an invoice and a proof of payment which clearly indicate that I'm covering the cost of a patent attorney for the registration of the Rasami patent. In case the coordination center activates it, I will receive a fast reimbursement of regarding the costs, which means the 50% of the IP patent attorney cost for the Rasami patent, but I will have also the opportunity until the 31 December 2021 to provide to the coordination center a second or third or fourth patent, a second, third or fourth invoices issued by an IP patent attorney, but this invoice must be always associated to the Rasami patent, which is the patent that allowed me to activate the service. In this case, during the second payment request, if as Resadio company I did not achieve yet the maximum reimbursable of Euro 2000, thanks to this second payment request, I can receive a second reimbursement, and again up to achieve the maximum reimbursable of Euro 2000. Also for Service 3 is valid the service activation extension, but again, this benefit is only given to the companies that has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3 during the same cutoff call. So, taking again the previous example, in case I will be able to activate Service 3 in time, in case I also received Service 2 during the same cutoff call, the coordination center, together with providing me with a first payment request, a first payment reimbursement associated to the Rasami company, they will also offer me additionally 4 months to activate the missing service, which is in this case of the sample Service 2. So, also in this case, again, in case as a company I will not be able to provide documentation in time, I will be automatically disqualified. Disqualified does not mean that I cannot participate another time during next future cutoff call. So, how to proceed with the step-by-step process for activating and receiving the payment. As I said before, also in this case, I will repeat that each service will be for a unique, each granted service will be for a unique patent, European patent application. So again, if you have different patent application in pipeline, if you want to receive support from the IPA4SME service, you must submit several IPA4SME application as many times as the number of the patent for which you claim to receive financial support. So if you have 5 patents, you must submit 5 different applications. As regard to submit different patent application, different IPA4SME application, please keep in mind that once you complete one, the second, the third, so on, the completion of the others application will be easily, because the majority of the information that you provide during the submission of the first IPA4SME application are saved. So to submit several applications, it will take no more than 2-3 minutes, since all the majority information have been saved from your first IPA4SME application. So the step-by-step process: first, completion of IPA4SME self-assessment, then you must provide us a valid IP patent attorney invoice. In this case, to validate the invoice, beneficiary can only be reimbursed once they have one or more valid invoice issued by an IP patent attorney, which must entitle to act before the EPO. So please keep in mind that to be considered Service 3 valid, the invoice must be issued by an IP patent attorney who appears on the EPO list of professional representatives. And in the guide, there is a link, as you can see, where clicking on, you can go to check if the patent attorney who is providing you the service is entitled or not to act before the EPO. But then the invoice to be validated must be also issued after the communication of the IPA4SME support that again for the beneficiary of cutoff call 5 is the 25 November 2020. And then the invoice must also contain information about the name of the patent attorney, otherwise we cannot check if he's entitled to act before the EPO. Then the invoice must contain a patent application process, which means the title of the invention or the IP being protected. But also the invoice must contain, when possible, information about EPO patent application number, but the invoice, in case information about the statement regarding your decision to discontinue the patent application process. In case you decided to discontinue the patent application process, please keep in mind that a model statement is provided in Annex 1 of this guide that you can just fill in and then provide us on EMS. So together with I would like to say that as regard to the IP patent attorney entitled to act before the IPO, don't be worried, because at least the 95% of the attorney company in Europe, at least they have always at least one IP patent attorney entitled to act before the IPO. So, for example, in case the IP patent attorney who is providing you the service is not entitled to act before the EPO, what you can ask to him or her is just to kindly include in the invoice that they are going to provide you the name of the patent attorney that is entitled to act before the EPO, even if this guy or this woman is not the the patent attorney who provide you the service. But again, to activate the service, we must collect invoice, including information about a patent attorney who appears on the EPO list of professional representative. Then, again, also in this case, is not mandatory to upload invoice in English. You can easily upload invoice to your national language. However, when it's possible to facilitate the revision, it will be grateful if you can include at least the following model statement in English, where the most important information that we must collect, they can be immediately collected. And then, again, together with the invoice, we must collect from you a proof of payment that also in this case can be accepted only bank transfer receipt, which clearly indicate the name of the beneficiary, IP patent attorney, and the invoice number. Also, with this information, the proof of payment can be accepted. So you have to upload both documentation on EMS. And again, I strongly recommend you to upload in a single PDF or zip file. And also in this case, Service 3 reimbursement is limited to 2 requests, which means that in case I will be able to activate the Service 3, I will have until the 31 December 2020 to request to the Coordination Center a second payment request. Therefore, please keep in mind, be aware that once you have made a second request for reimbursement, you will not be able to make additional one, even if they have not reached the maximum reimbursement amount. Once you activate the service, once you receive the first payment request, we kindly ask you to fill in, sign, and upload on EMS acknowledge of receipt, where this copy just to confirm us that we received the payment without any problem. Then in the guide you will find information about the important rules for payment requests. That again is that to claim a partial reimbursement, one application refers only to one single pattern. So documentation containing information about several patterns will not be allowed. This is going to disqualify the whole payment request. So then I would like to also say you that as a coordination center will inform you either if we decide to validate or not your documentation. In case we decide to not validate your documentation, we usually send to the beneficiary an email where we try to explain them the reason why we were not able to validate the documentation, but also when possible we also provide you information or suggestion that you have to follow in order to if you want to validate the documentation. But again, in both cases, please keep in mind that we contact you in both cases we decide to validate or not the documentation. As the coordination center, we are trying to do our best in order to provide you a really satisfied service. In the guide you will also find information in case you decide to cancel the support service. It will be really grateful for us in case you decide to communicate your decision to deactivate one of the service you received. Please in mind that cancellation of one or more service will not affect any other current or future service the beneficiary may have or receive. So in case I'm benefiting from service 1, 2, and 3, maybe I can request the deactivation of service 1. The deactivation of service 1 in this case is not going to affect the service 2 or service 3 I received. So in the guide you will also find information about the model statement for in case you decide to discontinue a patent application process, and also the letter that you have to complete in order if you decide to cancel the services awarded. So as regard to the guide, I think I said almost everything. I will also move on the presentation where I'm going to summarize and repeat all the most important information that you must understand, and then I will take care of the questions. I hope the audio is fine for the moment. Okay. So, Rasami, can you confirm that the audio is fine, please?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, okay. So, as I said, in this PowerPoint presentation, I try to collect all the most frequently asked questions received in the course of this first 1 year and a half of IPA4SME program. The scope is just to summarize together with you the most important information that you must understand to benefit from the support services we offer within this program. So, question number 1, is there any time limitation for justifying EPO and IP patent attorney fee after SME has been selected for support under IPA4SME? As explained you several times, yes, there is a specific time limitation that you have to respect. So, as regard to service 1, service 2, and service 3, you must complete or activate your support service within 4 months of the date of the communication of award. As regard to Service 1, you must complete the Service 1 within 4 months, which means that you must complete Service 1, which is the IP Pre-diagnostic Service, before the 25 March 2021. As regards the 2 co-financing service, you must activate the support service within 4 months of the date of the communication of award. Once service is activated, beneficiary will have until the end of the IPA4SME project to make their second request for reimbursement. If a beneficiary does not activate the service award within 4 months, the support will be automatically cancelled. And also in the event that a beneficiary has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3 from the same cut-off call, the activation of either of the support service will be automatically extend the time for the activation of the other service by an additional 4 months. Question number 2. I am already working on with an IP patent attorney. Are his or cost reimbursable? This is a question regarding Service 3. Please keep in mind that, as I explained you, for IP patent attorney fee to be reimbursed, the person issuing the invoice must be a professional entitled to act before the IPO, who has been hired by the SME for the purpose of preparing the filing of a European patent, or at least a PCT patent application being done through the IPO. I would like also to add that, again, we cover the cost even if you decide to discontinue the patent registration process. Again, a list of the eligible IP patent attorney can be found in the following link or at page 20 of the guide for beneficiaries. I would like also to add that in case the patent attorney who is providing you the service is not a patent attorney entitled to act the IPO, what you can do to address this issue is to ask to the main patent attorney office that the day where they are going to provide you the invoice of the services offered, they must include the name of the patent attorney who provide you really the service, but also in case add the name of the patent attorney they have that is working in the office that is entitled to act before the IPO. Otherwise, we cannot validate the documentation. Service 3. Question 3, sorry. Are all types of patent eligible to be subject of IPA4SME support? No, not all the patents are eligible to be subject of IPA4SME support because, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, our support exclusively covers European patent registration process, which for the purpose of IPA4SME is defined as filing an application for a patent before the IPO, covering more than 2 European member states. Therefore, no cost for IP protection in countries like USA, China, Brazil, and so on will be covered. Question number 4. What if a Service 3 beneficiary SME does not have an IPO patent application number yet? This situation can happen, is happening a lot of time. This happens because if you are you don't have the IPO patent application number until you did not complete the entire process of patent registration. So, in this case, what is going to happen that maybe the patent attorney is issuing a first invoice, but since the process, the registration process is not yet completed, you don't have an IPO patent application number. So in this case, don't be worried, because if it's your case, to validate the documentation, it is enough for us to receive an invoice containing the name of the patent attorney and the title of the invention or the IP being protected. This information, again, are enough for us. However, please keep in mind, remember that The invoice to be validated must be issued after the date of the communication of award. Question number 5. Is there any specific order for service implementation? In other words, if awarded with service 1 and service 2 and or 3, do SMEs have to wait until the IP diagnostic is finished to start benefiting from partial reimbursement? No, as I said you before, there is not a mandatory order for the implementation of the service. You can decide, you are free to complete the services award in parallel or one after one. You can complete service 3 before completing service 1, service 2, for example. But again, especially for who is benefiting from service 1, my strong recommendation is to plan a meeting with the experts assigned or chosen as soon as possible in order to obtain a clear overview of your situation. This information will be useful for you, but again, not essential because it's always the decision is always yours. But the expert can provide you information, useful information as regard the benefits you can receive or what you need to develop before you decide to register your patent application, and this information are really important in order you want to move within service 2 and or service 3. Question number 6, what is service activation? Again, being awarded with service 2 or service 3 does not mean that service 2 and or 3 are activate. To activate the service, you must provide us valid documentation. A valid documentation is a invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment, but in some case could be an IPO debit order number submission together with the corresponding proof of payment in case we are talking about service 2, option B, which means that the beneficiary decided to register its patent application by him or herself. Is VAT subject of reimbursement? No, please keep in mind that the VAT costs are not taken into account for the reimbursement calculation. This is really important, especially for the IP patent attorney cost, because are the only one where the VAT is considered in the cost. We should then, last question, we should SME contact if they need help with an application process or more information regarding the IPA4SME. Please keep in mind that as a coordination center, we are put at your disposal of potential applicants or beneficiary 2 emails. Once you'll call at sign IPA4SME.eu, and the second one is helpdesk at sign IPA4SME.eu. You can contact us using both email. Usually, we answer to the email within 24-48 hours, but I will be honest with you that sometimes can happen that we need more than 2 days to answer you, because some days we receive more than 100 email. It will be physically speaking quite impossible to answer all of them in 1 or 2 days. However, again, as coordination center, we are trying to do our best to answer you as soon as possible to provide you all the important information to complete the service. In case, however, you did not receive an answer from us in 1 week, my recommendation is to send again a new email, because sometimes can happen that maybe the email does not reach the main box but the spam box. In this case, we are not able to check the email. You can follow us on the following channel, like we are on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. The consortium consists of coordination leader, also gopa.com, and Universidad de Alicante. Thanks you very much for following me. Again, Marco Dio, and from Carsten, now I'm going to answer you to the question provided.
First of all, please keep in mind that I forgot to tell you before that at the end of this presentation, between today or tomorrow, all the beneficiaries that participate to this webinar, they will receive from gopa.com an email including the guide for beneficiary, the presentation, and also the most important information about the service, and also the link where the recording link in case you decide to follow me again. As regard to the question from Eloy Martinez, please keep in mind that we will provide you the guide for beneficiary directly by email. Always a question from Eloy Martinez is asking me if the IP nationally, the Spanish IP office is the OEPM, and I will confirm with him that the OEPM is the Spanish nationally IP office. Again, please keep in mind that for all the SME located in countries such as Austria, Denmark, France, Netherlands, and Spain, is the national IP office in charge of contacting you. If you don't receive any mail from them, please contact us on call@IPA4SME.eu or IPA4SME.eu. In this case, we can contact the national IP office, alerting them the problem that you are facing. Instead, as regards to the country, the SME located in countries such as Greece, Latvia, Ireland, Italy, Sweden, and Germany, as the coordination center, we are in charge of providing you a list or possible expert from which you can choose on, or in case providing you directly the information of the expert assigned to you. For this country, we are your main reference in case you have problem with the expert and so on. Question from Lorenzo Zullo. Again, he asked me who should he contact in case of problem. If there is any specific email address to be used, Mr. Zullo, you can contact us on call@IPA4SME.eu or helpdesk@IPA4SME.eu. Question from Miss Selina Stiani. Sorry if sometimes I'm wrong your surnames. You can do the same with mine, so don't worry. She asked me for service 2. It is a credit note of valid documentation. A credit note can be considered a valid documentation, but again, Mr. Restiani, within this document, we must collect information as regards to the EPO service order fee covered during the registration, and also the proof of payment, which clearly indicate that you already paid the EPO fee cost. However, what would like to say to all of you is that you can upload on EMS, and I recommend you to upload on EMS all the documentation that you think is really important that we collect from you in order to validate the documentation. Then, question from Stephen Nock asking me, what information should be prepared? What team member should participate for the service 1 IP pre-diagnostic interview? So, Mr. Nock, what I would like to tell you is that you don't need to prepare any information at the beginning of the service. You have just to complete the IPA4SME self-assessment, in which there are information, basic information about your company in terms of business strategy in the field of intellectual properties. Then, in case the expert is needed specific information from you, or in case the expert wants that more than one people participate to the service IP pre-diagnostic service, I think this is information is directly the expert providing you when during the call for scheduling a possible meeting. Then. Question from Caterina Sepulveda. She asking me, can I be beneficiary for more than one cutoff? Yes, sure, Miss Caterina Sepulveda, you can be beneficiary for all the cutoffs in case, and you can ask different times to benefit from service 2. You can ask different times to benefit from service 3. But again, please keep in mind that, first of all, one application can be associated to only one single patent application. So again, if you are interested to receive financial support for more than one European patent, you must apply you must submit IPA4SME application as many times as the number of the patent application for which you claim to receive financial support. And you can do this during the same cutoff call or in separate one. So you can submit 3 different questions, 3 different applications during the same cutoff call, or one in one cutoff and the other 2 in another one. But again, you can be beneficiary for more than one cutoff call. However, please keep in mind that you can receive only one time the EP Pre-diagnostic Service, which is the service 1. You can request the request for service 2 is limited to 5 different patent applications, while for service 3 you can receive you can request benefit from service 3 all the times that you want. Again, from Mr. Celine Estienni, for service 2 is accredited not a valid documentation? Yes, accredited not is a valid documentation. Question from Miss Francesca Freiria. Are you going to share this webinar and the frequently asked questions slide? Yes, at the end of the webinar, within today or tomorrow, Rassami will be really kind to send to you the guide for beneficiary together with the frequently asked question presentation, together with the recording link, together with information, basic information that you must learn in order to benefit from our support service. Again,
Marco, are you okay? We cannot hear you. Sorry for this technical issue. We are solving it.
contact us. It was a really pleasure to spend this early morning together with you. I really wish Christmas holiday, and stay safe and in good health. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.